عصف الأنين بداخلي كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محنتها وكم كرهت مصابها لكن رأيت الخير يسكب في أنا كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البال.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, the ceasefire has been agreed and the genocide in Gaza has officially stopped. But now we need to draw lessons from this particular genocide. And needless to say, I'm not talking about the issues domestically, and that's what the main purpose of the video is. But when we look at the politics of how this war was allowed to continue for 2 years, 60 plus thousand Muslims were killed, and our leaders with no backbone agreed to sit silent. Again, what the repercussions were, what leverage that certain world leaders had on the Muslim leaders, Allahu A'lam. And I don't want to get into geopolitics because I'm not involved. I'm not part of the cabinet. I'm not part of the government. So I don't want to comment on that. But let's just say the betrayal and the treachery was open in plain sight. But now, domestically, and I will touch on a Facebook post which one brother, I don't know who it was, but someone sent it to me, raised some very valid concerns and observations. But the charity sector, and again, you might think Hajj is a broken record. He's emphasizing on the corruption of the charity sector. But look, let's just say, even if one person or two people or three people or groups of people take heed to my message, that's a job done for me. Do you understand? I'm not expecting to change the whole thought process of donors when it comes to charity, but at least we're giving them ammunition and vital information so that they could be more cautious and more careful. But those mercenaries from the charity sector, if you have exploited this conflict, and again, this is now we're talking post Gaza war now, and if you continue to exploit the Gaza genocide, let's just say you've lost your deen and your dunya. Now, what I'm going to touch on is a few stories, just to show you that when you look at someone at the beginning and at the start, people gravitate. Now, I'm speaking about influencers, I'm speaking about popular speakers, I'm speaking about mashayikh, I'm speaking about anyone in any form of influence or power or authority, that they might start off with sincerity, they might start off with clean intentions, but then when certain fitna or fitan or trials or tribulations are presented, then you would see if that person has consistency, has morals, has ethics. And ultimately that could fall under different fitan. It could be the fitan of wealth, could be the fitan of women, could be various fitan that's connected to power, authority, fame, status, whatever it may be. I'm using the iPhone today, so I'm using the laptop to obviously look up the actual PDF, but I'll present it on screen. So if you hear the noise in the background, it's the iPad. And this is narrated in Ibn al-Qayyim's book, Al-Da wal-Dawa, which is the diseases and its cure. It's been mentioned that there was a man in Egypt, right, that used to attach himself to the masjid and used to call the adhan. Okay? And from the outward appearance, he was a person that used to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa anwa'ul ibadah. And he was a person that was a devout worshipper. So one day he ascended the minbar, and as he usually does, to call the adhan. And underneath, when he used to call the adhan, the house that was there was a Christian household, but there was a Christian woman that caught his attention. And he was basically afflicted with her beauty, meaning obviously it was a fitna for him. So he left the adhan, right? And he entered upon her house. And he said to her, فَقَالَتْ لَهُ مَا شَأْنُكَ وَمَا تُرِيدُ. What or who are you and what do you want? So he responded back and said, أُرِيدُكِ, I want you. And then she responded by saying, لِمَاذَا, why? And he said that you captured my heart and you caught my eye, etc. So she said, I can't, what's it called, be with you, in essence, because of your sort of religion, because you're a Muslim. Okay, I'm trying to summarize it because it gets lengthy. That my father won't get me married to you. So he turned around and said, Atanassara, I will become Christian. So she responded by saying, In fa'alta, if you do that, then that's fine. I'll marry you. So he became a Christian in order to marry this woman. And later on in the day, right, he went on the roof and he fell down, famata, he died without even consummating the marriage. Can you believe that? And he lost the woman and he lost his religion, meaning he became a murtad, right? He become a what? He become a murtad. The sort of crux of this video is don't be astounded or astonished by certain personalities, mashaykhs and influencers based on how they started off. Because if you start seeing a decline, right, and a decline that where there's compromises, where there's appeasement, and where they overcook certain principles to dilute the religion, then you know this person is on a downward trajectory and he is not a person who should be trusted. You shouldn't trust people like that with your religion. And on top of that, when it comes to your wealth, which portions of that wealth needs to be distributed in zakat and sadaqah. Ibn al-Jawzi mentions the story in Tilbis Iblis regarding the monk from Bani Israel, Barsisa. And as you can see on screen, he mentions that Wahib ibn Munabbih narrates this lengthy story. And I just want to summarize it because those who are not aware of it, it's important that we take heed. And he mentions that basically we'll present a story to show you the way shaitan works in order to misguide mankind. And also about shaitan's like sincere advice, you know, the husnul dhan and whatnot. But shaitan runs through our veins like blood. So there was a abid in the time of Bani Israel. He was pious and whatnot. And jihad was mandated on Bani Israel. So they had to go on jihad. But they had no one to take care of the sister. So they obviously, you know, kind of forced it on him that to say, look, we're going to entrust you with her. And in the end, the way shaitan sort of worked on this individual to the point that he said, look, that give her food and just obviously come back. And then he continued on for a while. And then afterwards he said, look, instead of, you know, just knocking the door and placing food, just go and talk to her for a bit, you know, just, engage with her because she's alone and whatnot. And then when he did that for a fair amount of time, he would say to her, look, if you go there, why don't you just comfort her and go inside the house? And obviously it gradually went that they went inside the house and he committed zina. Then afterwards, shaitan came to him and said, look, if the brothers come back, you know, she's going to tell, and obviously you're going to get exposed. So he ended up killing her and the child. So to fast forward, the brothers came back from jihad and they were told by this worshipper who obviously lied that they passed away. So both of them, shaitan came to them in their dream. They both had the same dream. One of the brothers was like, you know, it's only a dream. The other brother was persistent regarding what he saw in the dream, regarding where the body was buried. And then they found the corpse of his sister and the child. So shaitan, in the end, came to him and said, look, it was me that did everything. I'm the one that tempted you. I'm the one that got you to talk to her and then eventually, commit zina. Shaitan said, look, if you obey me and disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that created you and formed you, I would, khalastuka mimma antafi, that I will remove you from what you're in, the situation that you're in essence. And then look what it says. فَكَفَّرَ الْعَابِدِ, and he disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he got what he wanted, he left him. And what did they do? The people then crucified him. And many ulama relate this story to the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the likeness of a shaitan is when he tells a man to disbelieve. He would say, I'm innocent of you, I fear Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the moral of this story, min Barsisa, and the previous narration that are presented by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, is that one needs to be very, very careful, especially when you're in the public eye, when you have a platform, especially when you're using deen. Because when it comes to popular speakers or the charity sector, I'm going to be completely blunt. It's religious snobbery. It's them using their platform to reap the benefits and rewards of this dunya. We know over the last 2 years there's been issues getting funds into Gaza, and obviously that's due to the lack of infrastructure with the banking sector. So yeah, you could get money in, but it was very difficult. It was done via other means, and again, I don't want to go into that, but those who know, and obviously I was actively involved sending money. But remember, we are overviewing now the last 2 years. Collectively, from the charity sector, tens of millions of pounds have been raised, if not hundreds of millions. So now that the ceasefire has happened, you're going to find the mercenaries from the charity sector, request more money. But the question you have to ask yourself is, and I'm talking about the donors here, not all of that money was not spent. It's impossible for you to spend all of that money. So I don't understand this. At least fulfill the amana that you have currently. Tens of millions in the bank account. There's no point requesting more money when you haven't even spent the amana that was given to you over the last 2 years. Clear that. Now you've got some freedom to a certain extent, right? I know obviously inflation was high, and there's been videos circulating regarding the mercenaries or these merchants that have been getting, let's just say, whipped and whatnot. But that's obviously irrelevant. What we're talking about is these charity mercenaries now using slogans, or if not buzzwords like, yeah, there's a small window, and they're requesting more money. But yeah, Rajul, you haven't even spent the money that you've gathered over the last 2 years. This is the amana of the ummah. Don't you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You could bank and you could enjoy your nice salaries. You could go out and drive your nice cars and your houses. Wallah al-azim, like we reviewed the story of Barsisa and the Muslim man. Wallah al-azim, you're going to lose your deen and the dunya. I'm going to say it as it is. These, small windows and whatnot, and it's all to just emotionally blackmail you. Now, I ask, and I repeatedly ask, it's our money. So what have you done over the last 2 years? And we've got a right to know how much you've raised. I've got something in the pipeline, so I would announce that soon, right? And obviously it will be surprising for most of you, if not all of you. But there needs to be a standard set. There needs to be a revamp. And I could speak about this all day, all night. It don't bother me. It don't bother me. Because, like I said, I do this for lillah. I'm not monetarily benefiting from my channel. So, at the end of the day, I'm free to speak as I want and how I want. So, as you can see on screen, we've got this Facebook post that someone sent to me. And it mentions, before the next Ramadan, we need an honest conversation about Muslim charities and Gaza. I say this with love and deep respect for Muslim generosity in many faith-based humanitarian organizations failed Gaza when it mattered most. Yes, Israel is responsible for the genocide and the famine. Yes, Israel shut down Gaza's banks and made operating there nearly impossible. Yes, Israel targeted and killed more than 500 humanitarians. Yes, some organizations truly wanted to help, but they were blocked at every turn. But that is only part of the story. This is what I've been saying. This is just a fraction of what they would use to emotionally blackmail you. But there is a deeper, sinister issue that needs to be addressed, and this brother Tabarakallah addresses it well. We must also admit too many organizations chose safety over courage, optics over impact, and marketing over meaningful aid. This will be uncomfortable but necessary. We have a container in Amman, a truck in Egypt, a ship in Cyprus, everywhere except inside Gaza. No transparency, just the appearance of action. One organization hired 2 guys with a camera, handed out $200 of sandwiches, random passerby, filmed it and replayed it for months. Their marketing raised millions, almost none of it reached Gaza. This is the point I've been saying all along. They are scumbag hayawan. They are hayawanat. They are animals. That's all I can say. And wallahi, you're going to lose your deen and the dunya. Enjoy it. I don't want to talk about one guy who lost a loved one and then ventured on the other side of the world, staying in luxury hotels and watching a UFC event. I don't want to even get to that. Others raised millions for Gaza only to hand the money to another organization, including bad faith actors like GHF. I don't know who the hell they are. Anyway, I sat in a prayer service where a church said we sponsor orphans in Gaza camp. Everyone thought they meant Gaza. Nope, Gaza refugee camp in Jordan, misleading at best. And I'll finish this off, obviously, to highlight that point. And yes, some even posted photos with the Israeli army to look open-minded. Let me be very clear. My intention is not to shame or drive down donations. I wanted them to rise more and do more. Ramadan is months away. That's exactly why I'm speaking now. So there is time to correct course, rebuild trust, and raise standard. Gaza deserves better. Donors deserve honesty. Our institutions need courage and integrity. We can still fix this. So come back to me now. Now I want to focus on the paragraph where he said, I sat in a prayer service where a charity said, we sponsor orphans in Gaza camp. Everyone thought they meant Gaza. Nope, Gaza refugee camp in Jordan, misleading at best. Now, Tux called this out. There was one brother who said, I'm in a sham. Now, I went to Syria, and when we say Asham, we talk about a great Asham, right? Asham. But when you say Sham, and those who know who in Syria, Sham is Damascus, right? But Asham is the greater Syria. Now, the brother was requesting donations and saying he's in a sham and highlighting certain aspects in a sham. Now, technically speaking, he potentially was in a sham, but it was misleading because he wasn't in Sham, meaning Syria. People assumed he was in Syria, and hence why they did that campaign. Likewise, there was another brother who said he was in Yemen, but he wasn't in Yemen. He was in Ethiopia. There was another brother, the same brother said he was in Afghanistan, but he wasn't. He was in Pakistan. And then another, the same brother also said, and charity still use this punk, he said he was in Somalia, but no, he was in Kenya. This is, wallah, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallah, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The deceit, the deception is out of control. Do you really think that this is going to bring success in this world and in the hereafter? Wallah al-azim, you guys are mal'oon. You guys are cursed. And like I said before, you're going to ruin your akhirah and you're going to ruin your dunya as well. Let's ask some direct questions. We have a right to know how much money you raised because we're the one that donated. We have the right to know. So how dare you, when we ask how much you've raised, you're willing to give this information to the Charity Commission, which is just figures really, but you don't want to give it to the donors. How much money you've raised, you've held on to that money. You can't be requesting, you can't be shamelessly asking for more money when you haven't even spent the amana of the ummah. Don't you know the weight of an amana? You guys are mercenary scumbags. You guys are khanazir. I have to say, banking and profiting off the blood of the Muslims. How low can you go? How low can you go? And you're going to carry on. So I make a dua and I ask everyone to raise their hands. Please raise your hands. Raise your hands. And say, Ya Allah, whoever has profited, because the war is over, the ceasefire has been agreed. Whoever has profited in any way whatsoever from the Gaza genocide, may Allah destroy him in this world and in the hereafter. May Allah make that wealth a curse for him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with him or her and show us their disgrace in this world and in the hereafter, so that there may be an ibrah, there may be a lesson for those who attempt to do it in the future. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us sincere. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to serve His religion without any dunyawi benefit, for His sake and His sake only, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So take care of yourselves. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
ليس الغريب غريب الشام واليمن، إن الغريب غريب اللحد والكفن. إن الغريب له حق لغربته على المقيمين في الأوطان والسكن. سفري بعيد وزاد لن يبلغني، وقوتي ضعفت والموت يطلبني. ما أحلم الله عني حيث أمهلني، وقد تماديت في ذنبي ويسترني. تمر ساعة